Jo Leute, Stream auf Deutsch mal wieder. Es geht ja auch instant los. Das ist ein langer Tag heute. Ich glaube so um 5 Uhr kommt Minecraft Legends. Jo YouTube, was geht ab?
Hallo, ich bin Phil Spencer. We at Team Xbox are excited to be back at Gamescom to celebrate gaming with our fans from all over the world. Whether attending the show or watching from home, fans in Germany, Europe, and around the world can expect a little more insight into some of our previously announced games coming to Xbox in the next 12 months. We're excited to continue building a community together and bringing the joy of gaming to everyone.
Sogar ein Deutsch T-Shirt an.
From all of us at Xbox, Dankeschön, and welcome to Gamescom 2022.
Hello, everyone. It's been 3 long years, but today we are finally back in Cologne, Germany to bring you all things Gamescom, and it feels so good to be back. For the next 6 hours, we'll be bringing you in-depth discussions with the creators of some of this year's most anticipated games, and I think these guys are excited!
That's right, Charlie. Today we'll be talking with the brilliant minds responsible for A Plague Tale Requiem, Age of Empires, Sea of Thieves, Minecraft Legends, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Pentiment, High on Life, Lies of P, Grounded, Under the Waves, Planet of Lana, and Gunfire Reborn. And listen, I cannot tell you how good it feels to be back here, surrounded by fans and developers, and not just talking through a computer screen after all of these years. Am I right, everyone? Yeah. That's right.
It feels so great to be back and to be bringing
brilliant
games along to Gamescom with us. If you're watching at home, we want to hear what you're excited about. So as we go through the show, use the hashtag #XboxGamescom to join the conversation. Now let's get into the content, and I'm going to ask my colleagues to clear the runway so we can welcome the creators of Flight Simulator to the stage. But before we sit down with the team, what a better way to celebrate Gamescom than with an entrance to the city from the Flight Simulator directly. Enjoy and viel Spaß!
Let's go, yeah.
This has to be one of my favorite clips, and based on the video you just saw, our next guest landed here at Cologne Messe in Germany to talk all things airborne. I'm super thrilled to introduce you the head of Microsoft Flight Simulator, Jörg Neubrand, and also the CEO of Asobo Studio, Sebastian Floch. Thank you so much for joining us.
Ich dachte, wenn der Zocker ist.
Maxi, it's great to be back here at Gamescom.
Moin.
Beautiful Cologne, in person.
Danke für dein
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. And I heard you brought something special with you today.
Yes, we did. We thought we have to rise to the occasion and do something special, and we had to come up with something.
Ich weiß, dass Zocker auf der Gamescom ist. Ich weiß halt nicht, wie er aussieht. Es wäre lustig, wenn er einfach da hinten ist und schreit KornCorey. Das wäre so funny. Oder so Corey stinkt. Das wäre so funny. Ich weiß es jetzt, ja. Zocker hat gesagt, du kommst ja morgen. Oder heute schon, keine Ahnung. Ich habe ein Bild gesehen. Oh. Der Flight Simulator ist auch so groß geworden. Morgen bin ich auch Gamescom. Ich weiß gar nicht, wer morgen streamt. Von den ganzen großen Konzernen. Heute ist Xbox dran.
This looked incredible. Yeah. I think I even saw 5 soccer stadiums. I definitely saw BVB, Cologne. I wonder if we have any Cologne fans. You're a Cologne fan?
I'm maybe a little guilty. I'm a big Bundesliga fan, and my favorite club is 1. FC Köln. so happy to put it into a video. But
Chad is cheering. I hear it till here. But yeah, really incredible, amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, photogrammetry is awesome. So just to explain, we flew all this last year.
Jetzt zocker gerade hier im Chat.
So basically we have planes flying really low, taking a
Save
photograph a second. And so we have millions of photographs. Out of that we built these 3D cities. And so it's beautiful. And I hope the Germans love it a little bit. But that's not the only thing that we did for Germany. So when we go into a region, we try to do a regional plane. We call those local legends. It's a plane that is not that well known in the world.
Ich freue mich so auf Minecraft Legends.
So last year for Gamescom, we actually launched the Junkers U-52, which is my personal favorite plane. And for this year, we said, what are we going to do to top this? And we are taking the sort of the father of the Junkers U-52. It's the Junkers F-13, which was the first metal transport plane in the world. So it actually started airlines, that one. And yeah, so we actually have a trailer. So let's take a look.
Okay, let's go. Oh. Oh, ich schau mal ein Flugzeug. The sky is calling. Microsoft Flight Simulator.
That trailer, the music, it really, you just bringing a beautiful piece of history to life. So thank you so much for that. And I'm wondering, when you are choosing a plane like the Junkers F-13, like, what is the process like to make it as authentic as possible? I'm assuming you can't just like travel back in time and talk to the German engineer Hugo Juncker himself.
Time travel, Seb. It's a new feature. We need to put that in the flight sim. No, seriously. So it's a ton of research. The first thing we do is, are there any surviving aircraft? So this plane is from 1922, and we looked, and there are pieces. So we first contact all the museums where the pieces are. And so in this case, the German museum, Deutsche Museum in Munich, has an original cockpit. They had it in storage. We told them what our plan were. They're like, we'll bring it out of storage. So we scanned that in down to the millimeter. And then they also had a replica, so we've scanned the exterior. And then there's a company, the Junkers company celebrated the 100-year anniversary of this plane just recently, and they built 3 replicas. So we talked to that team as well, and they let us scan all the new instruments, and they had people who fly that. So they gave us feedback on the flight model and everything to make sure that it's perfect. So it takes a ton of people, but it's great fun.
So does that mean when you, for example, decide on a new plane to bring back, you have a dedicated internal team that will look after it, or do you bring some outside people in as well?
We bring outside people in. So this particular plane is actually made by a German engineer, a software engineer. His name is Oliver Moser. And he works with the German Museum and a whole bunch of other people to really get it right. And the curators of those museums, they live those planes. That's what they do in their life, right? So they know everything about everything. We can ask them any questions. So that's the process with old aircraft. And with new aircraft, Sepp is actually oftentimes traveling.
Yeah. Just last summer, we visited a school to fly on the gimbal, Cabri G2. When we do an aircraft, we make it extremely realistic. We go capture audio data, flight data, visual data, and we test the aircraft with engineers from the manufacturers or even test pilots.
And I mean, that sounds incredible, but what's even more incredible is Flight Sim is literally turning 40 this year. Like, I'm 38. I can't even believe there's a game that is older than me. No, but it's really amazing. It's a milestone. And you announced at the Xbox Bethesda showcase that there will be a 40th anniversary edition. Before we dive into that one, what does it feel like to run Microsoft's longest gaming franchise? Do you have any key elements that you could share?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're a little bit in awe, right? We're living history. We feel very thankful. We always say,
Warum habe ich so ein Gefühl, dass der Dicke da unten die ganze Zeit komisch die Kamera guckt, Zucker ist? Ich habe das Gefühl irgendwie.
We try to stay very true to that fundamental vision. And I would say that what stands out to me is the fans. We talk to them all the time. There's people that have been with Flight Sim for 40 years, so they're in there.
Nee, aber er sagt, er ist nicht dick.
They know everything, and they're very vocal and active, and that's what makes it fun.
When you're talking about the community, what have they been asking for the 40th anniversary?
Yeah, so they have a lot of requests. Two that stood out for us was helicopters and gliders. And Sepp and his awesome team at Asobo did a bunch of work. So Sepp, just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so
hat lange Haare. Zucker hat lange Haare.
Both are very specific, and they require a lot more accurate simulation of the airflow around the aircraft.
Ich weiß nicht, ob er jetzt Stream zuguckt. Vielleicht war er da schon und ich bin einfach blind. Das kann einfach jede Person, so kann da jede Person sein.
And we have to simulate also the airflow around the helicopter because the rotor is what makes the helicopter fly, and it pushes the air downwards. So it creates very complex airflow movements.
Hey, warum hast du gar keine Abzeichen mehr?
People to understand how this works. We have added a visualization, so people can turn on and off a tool that allows to see how the air flows around the helicopter.
So Twitch kurz
you see the air really,
gar keine
how
Abzeichen
it creates vortices and how it creates turbulences around the helicopter. And so there's very important effects that account when you fly in helicopter. One of these is translational lift. Translational lift is when the helicopter goes forward. It's easier for it to catch the air and climb up. And we actually flew the gimbal in July, and it's very strong, the effect. When you fly, you go forward, and as soon as you go forward, you get a lot of lift, and it really goes up. Yeah. Another effect we have is the ground effect. When the propeller, when the rotor pushes the air down, it's for the helicopter like climbing a ladder that always goes down. And when you go closer to the ground, the air is blocked by the ground. It goes down.
Ja, jetzt ist wieder da. Aber die Folgenachricht haben einfach gar keine Abzeichen.
Question, like, because you said July and it's very hot, that makes a difference, right?
Oh yeah. The gimbal G2 has enough power to easily climb vertically when it's cold, but in July when we flew, it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and we couldn't even go up vertically. We had to go up forward.
And another thing you said, it sounds very dangerous. It's like this blade flapping. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
I don't have any aircraft knowledge this deep, but it sounds like it's a baby bird's first fly. I don't know.
Almost. It feels like wings. So the helicopter physics is really very complex. We had to push it up from 100 hertz to 1,000 hertz, so just to capture a rotor going around, because it spins so fast. And flapping is when the helicopter wants to go left, it needs to push on the left side, so the rotor goes up and down and up and down. it actually resonates when it turns around, but everything is offset by about 90 degrees because it's also soft, right? It takes time for the rotor to bend and push the helicopter on the other side. One important effect is the vortex effect with the ring vortex. When the helicopter spins, when the helicopter rotor spins, it creates a vortex. When you go down, it goes into its own airflow, its own vortex, and it's very hard for it to climb at that moment.
I love these deets. I could talk forever about this, but I think the most important question now is, could you explain a little bit what is the difference between a glider and all the other aircrafts?
Yeah, very important. A glider, most of the gliders don't have a way to go up in the air, so they need to find a way to take off. So they have either a tow plane or they will have a winch, which is going to launch them into the air. And once you're up there, if you want to stay in the air, you need to find places where the air goes up. And so experienced pilots will know where to find updrafts. But we added a system for anyone to see them in the environment, so you can see the air flowing up, and it's easier to find where that happens. The pilots can then fly in the environment, go up. The glider has a very long glide distance, but when there's updraft, it can stay in the air for hours, basically, as long as there's sunlight and as long as it heats up the air. And it makes it very fun. You can glide along mountains, on the hills where everything is south exposed, goes up, and so it makes it a very complex and enjoyable experience with its visualization.
You spent clearly a lot of time in this. Have you shown this to any pilots or other people outside?
Yeah, for example, the helicopter simulation, we show that to instructors of the same helicopter model, and they flew with it, compared it to the real-life helicopter. They were super impressed by how realistic this is, how it reproduces exactly the flight of the helicopter in all the different conditions.
And for the gliders, we're actually working with a studio called Flight Sim Studio. They're glider pilots, they know tons about this. So yeah, we look for experts just to make it right.
So since the instructors were so impressed, would you think that the community would be equally impressed?
Yeah, we've been showing this a little bit, the visualization tools and all that. And you know, in the past, like our last flight sim was called Flight Sim 10. It was basically a helicopter was a box with a single point. Now Seb has thousands of points. The physics simulation is out of this world. Nobody's ever seen anything like this before. And they are over the moon. So they can't wait.
They can't wait. So I love hearing about helicopters and gliders and planes. Do you have any other aircrafts coming to the 40th anniversary edition?
Yeah, so there's actually the third big question from the community was it's called True to Life airliner. That means, you know, airliners are hugely complex. They have thousands of buttons. And True to Life means that every button does something. So we work with a team, they're called Builds. They're experts. They're doing an A310 Airbus. And I think the community can't wait. I mean, those things are typically just pay-wear, and we now put it into the base sim. I think it's like a gift. Like, the whole idea of the 40th anniversary edition is like, it's a box of chocolate. Here's some gifts.
I like chocolate.
I like chocolate.
What I like more is actually trailers. Do we have one?
We do. So just to speak to the rest of the... So we also want to celebrate aviation. You know, aviation, when you think about it, it's 120 years, and we have 40 of that. So it's like, let's connect those things together. So we picked some of the classic planes from the 1903 Wright Flyer, and we spent like 5 decades all the way to 1940s. And we do have a trailer for that. And let's go.
40. Wow, das ist schon geil.
Well, it looks like we have a few more surprises in this trailer, and we have some planes in there that we didn't see before.
That is exactly true. So there is a Curtiss JN4 Jenny that's from 1915. It's actually the plane, they made thousands of these, and it's the plane that everybody in, like literally America and also in Europe trained. So that's when airplanes really took off, around that time, and that plane is at the center of all that. Then the next plane we added was the Grumman Goose 21A. Beautiful plane. It's famous because it shuffled Hollywood famous people to Catalina Island and places like that with waterplanes. So it's lots of luminaries. And a lot of them are left because, you know, honestly, wealthy people had those planes. And then at the very end, I don't know if you saw that huge plane, that's the Hughes H4 Hercules. It's better known as the Spruce Goose. So that's Howard Hughes's, you know, he was a big, ambitious guy. So he said, I'm going to build the biggest plane ever made. And forever and ever, this was the biggest plane in the world. And it only flew once for 20 seconds. And we worked very closely with the museum. There's a museum in Oregon called Evergreen Museum. It's part of the Smithsonian organization. And they have the plane. So they let us in there, take photographs. They gave us tons and tons of feedback. And they're so happy because this is going to be the first time the Spruce Goose really flies. That's going to be cool.
That is really, really amazing. I'm not sure if that's the one, but I want to touch a little bit on the legacy, and maybe this is some of the moments that captured this. 40 years of flight sim. What has fans coming back to the flight simulator like every day?
To me, I mean, we talk about this as a team all the time. To me, it really is like the fundamental truth is that the flying is a human dream. And it's been a human dream for a long time. I honestly think people looked at the sky, looked at the birds and said, man, you know, I wonder what that looks like. And the dream, when Bruce Artwick started all this, the dream was go anywhere, look at anything, see it from that very unique perspective of flying. And we stayed true to that. The franchise stayed true to that. And I think that dream is very much alive and still shared. And now with this new version, like it used to be we didn't have enough data. We couldn't really, the planet didn't really look like the planet. When we started this, we had 4 petabytes of data, which is 4,000 terabytes, a lot, and the cloud. So we now suddenly could actually show every house, every building. We have 1.5 billion houses. We have 3 or 4 trillion trees. So we have literally every house and every tree on the planet, and everything looks right. So what people are doing now is what I call digital tourism. So there were always people interested in planes, and now people are also interested in the world. And let's just look at everything and visit it. And I think that's a new dimension that we've added that brings in new people to this hobby, and it's a beautiful thing.
So, Sebastian, what's your experience in this?
I mean, aviation is so rich. It's 120 years of constant innovation. There's so many different things to discover, so many planes, so many aircraft, so many helicopters. It's just very vast to explore. And then the playground is the planet, right? It's huge. You have so many cities, millions of cities. You have so many countries. You can go travel, prepare travels. There's just so vast. There's way more than 40 years of stuff to discover.
I have one question for you both, because I want to know, which is your favorite city to fly over?
That's a very good question. So I really like Sydney.
All right.
Because I've never been, and I want to go because I saw it in flights. And I actually landed everywhere under the Bay Bridge and whatever the bridge is called. Awesome. I need to go. In the real world. Yeah.
What's yours, Sebastian?
It's going to be San Francisco.
San Francisco.
We've been there.
Mine is Seoul. Like, I've never been there. Korea, like, I want to fly over that.
I spent a month in South America. I've never been to South America. I flew around for a month. I now have a sense what Suriname looks like. I had no earthly idea, right? So, but it actually sort of this itch to travel, especially during the pandemic. I couldn't go anywhere. That really helped me, and it really brings the planet closer to you. It's great.
It does, and there's nothing like taking your Halo Pelican and hover over your own street in Munich. I can just recommend that. So the important question, of course, when will fans be able to hop into the cockpit to take off with the 40th anniversary edition?
Yeah, I mean, so the 40th anniversary edition is releasing on November 11th, so that's 3 months from now. It's a full box of chocolate. So we talked about some planes, so it has 12 new planes, it has 14 heliports, 10 glider airports, it has 4 classic airports we didn't really ever talk about yet. Like, Flight Sim always used to start in Chicago on Meigs Field. That airport closed. We didn't have it in our original sim. Now we have it. There's others coming. There's new missions. We're bringing missions back from the old sim. So I think it's a true celebration of the franchise. And just in case people don't know, the 40th anniversary edition is in fact free for people who are on Xbox, on Game Pass, and who already own Flight Sim.
Well, I love celebrations. I love everything that is free. So I can't wait to hit the skies with this 40th anniversary edition of Flight Simulator. Thank you so much, Jörg. Thank you so much, Sebastian, for coming here. And as you always say at the end of your trailers, the sky is calling.
Yeah. See you in the skies. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
So before we hear from the folks behind Planet of Lana, let's visit a spooky reimagine of Boston in 1925. In this uniquely macabre mystery, you inhabit the bootstraps of a dashing detective investigating a chilling murder with a demon as your partner. It's the classic kind of good cop, demon cop routine. It has full of puzzles, an eye-catching art style, great action gameplay, and a plot that will have you at the end of your seat. Check out the new trailer for this wonderful, unique-looking adventure. It is The Last Case of Benedict Fox.
That's him. My father. What secrets did he take to his grave?
Das Spiel soll auch cool sein.
Glad you came back, my beautiful canvas.
Coming up next is Plague Tale Reagieren, but first, Charlie is standing by with our very own Aaron Greenberg. And I have a very special question for Aaron. Can you show us your nails?
Just like gaming is for everyone, so is getting your nails done in the Xbox controller colors. Thank you, Maxie. That was so great. And now I've learned about shellac.
It's a whole process, right? And
I feel like I'm in a secret beauty club now or something.
He really is. I do hope you take these techniques back with you to Seattle. Maybe Phil next, a Trends, maybe.
I'm in. Who's next? Let's do this. Let's get the Xbox nails trending.
Absolutely, we're going to do it. Right, to the here and now, how does it feel being back at Gamescom after 3 years and surrounded by this incredible community?
This is like a dream come true. I mean, you know, for us at Xbox, like, it always starts with the fans. It's about the fans.
Always, yeah.
These are the most memorable moments of all the years. We love the games, we love the products, but the memories we create with fans are ones that last forever. And to finally, after 3 years, to be back here is really special.
It really is. Talking of memories, do you have any favorite ones? And you can't say talking to me 3 years ago either. See, that was great.
Planted. So, no, I would say, listen, we have done FanFest. That's always been kind of the highlight of Gamescom. Fans here in Germany, fans from all over Europe come. We've done parties on boats on the Rhine.
Yeah,
we've done FanFest on a boat. And so this year, you know, we have a big booth here at Gamescom. We did a really great after-hours event just for fans last night. And it was fun because we started giving out prizes. And then
throwing controllers into the crowd.
I might have thrown a few things.
Sorry, hey,
But then it turned into like a sea shanty fest.
Yeah, it was great.
And fans were singing sea shanties, and it was like, just the joy and love we get from our fans, it just warms our heart, and we miss this.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who can be here this year, what can they expect from us on the booth at Gamescom?
Well, we have tons of playable. So, I mean, start maybe with Pentiment. So, you know, obviously Josh Sawyer and the team Obsidian have been working on this incredibly rich narrative adventure, taking us back to 16th century Bavaria. So, of course, we had to launch it right here in Bavaria. Fans are loving it. That's coming out in November. We've got new Age of Empires 4 updates.
Yeah, we
2
do.
new Civs coming. Those are also free for Age 4 players. We've got some great partner titles here, Liza P. So if you were looking for like that Pinocchio meets Bloodborne meets Game Pass.
Exactly. A punishing childhood game for everyone.
Yes. It is in the like 18 plus section.
The secret bit over there. You have to get into that.
Last Case of Benedict Fox.
Yes.
That was a big highlight from Showcase. And I got to meet the team from Plot Twist. They're here from Poland. So that's also nice. There's a lot of
Superman
developers here that are creating games for Xbox.
Superman of the Gamescom.
And to contribute those teams is also super special. And then, of course, for Grounded, the full release September 27th, we have a giant 17-foot, over 5 meters wide brood mothers.
And I'm told that that's to scale as well versus in-game. That's how big she is.
Yes. So, yeah, we're having a great time. The booth's filled with games, filled with fans. I mean, that's what Gamescom's about. And it's just nice to finally be back here and let people get to experience some of that magic again. Nothing beats in person.
100%. Couldn't say about it myself. So thank you so much, Aaron. Coming up next, we'll get an inside look at the much anticipated A Plague Tale Requiem.
Yeah. mich eigentlich auch. Perfekt. Weil... So, weiter geht's.
Stay here and patrol. Report if you see one bloody rat.
I knew it. I knew it. All right. Move, quick.
Far across the sea, an island calls.
Nothing ever stays nice. It always turns bad.
Things aren't always nice. You can change them.
How?
The way we always do. We fight.
How far will you go to save the ones you love? A Plague Tale Requiem picks up a few months after the end of Innocence, right around the first days of summer. Amicia and Hugo are headed south, along with their mother Beatrice and the young alchemist Lucas, reaching places still spared by the devouring plague, the raging wars, and the rabid rats that are running rampant in the north.
Is that a fair?
Beneath the warm sun of 14th century Provence, the Daroons are almost able to enjoy a normal life.
You're great!
But for a recurrent dream that Hugo has been having of a mysterious island that calls him.
These look like teeth. It's a two-teeth island.
How come nobody noticed their disappearance?
Maybe nobody cares.
Maybe.
One day, the macular illness that's been dormant inside Hugo awakens, and the dreaded living nightmare begins again. In the wake, Amicia finds herself with no other choice but to trust her brother's dreams and head further south towards the elusive island before he's consumed by the terrible macular affliction.
The bite, yes. They've locked the arena down. They let them die here.
It's starting all over again.
Her mind is made up. She will find a cure in what dreams and prophecy may hold.
Get used to it.
With almost no one they can trust.
This is your life now.
Amicia and Hugo must traverse land and water as restless forces stand against them.
Amicia, you're all right.
After the events of last winter, Amicia is hardened, experienced, and when backed against the wall, can be surprisingly resourceful. With several new tricks up her sleeve, she is now able to freely choose between striking from the shadows or unleashing hell with a variety of equipment and tools. Hugo wants more than ever to help his big sister and not hinder their progress.
We need to leave or we'll doom everything.
The macula within him is a double-edged sword that has deepened his connection with the rats.
The rats. They can feel people's blood. Now I can too.
This powerful ability can decimate entire squads of soldiers, but takes a severe toll on Hugo every time he uses it.
What's wrong? What's wrong?
Thankfully, their journey brings not only hardship, but also unexpected friends. These colorful characters help the Daroons carry their terrible burden.
It's not my first time.
While offering unique skills and resources to bring them closer to their elusive goal.
Move as soon as he's gone.
For Amicia and Hugo, the road ahead will test the limits of what they can endure on all levels, and just how far they're willing to go. Reaching the island is only the first step to truly understanding the terrible affliction that's stricken their family. As the lines between reality, fantasy, and fate dissolve, keeping it together and finding the cure to save Hugo will be nothing short of a miracle. But Amicia has hope, and hope is the last thing lost.
Burned in it.
If you kill, be ready to be killed. No!
A Plague Tale Requiem releases October 18th on Xbox Series.
Wow, what a journey. I don't know about you, but I've been eager to get back to the rat-infested France of the 14th century, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say, and it's in part thanks to this guy over here, Kevin Chateau, game director for A Plague Tale Requiem, releasing this fall. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm super happy to be here.
It's such a good day. So we're going to dive right into that trailer. As it mentioned, this is the follow-up to the smash hit Innocence. So I was wondering if you could catch us up to where Amicia and Hugo are up to now.
So the game takes place in the 14th century southwest France. They came from the southwest. They had to flee because of the event of the first one. And so we joined them 6 months after the event of the first one on the road. They are arriving in Provence, so southeast France, and we are going to explore this region and also a bit of the Mediterranean Sea.
Lovely. So for those who haven't, or people who are waiting to jump right into Requiem, I should say, but maybe they've not played Innocence, would you say it's recommended reading? Is it important to go back? I'm certain you'll say it is, but what do you think for new fans?
No, of course, they should
play it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's we have not rebooted, but rethink everything in the game. So it's a brand new game. We have done everything to onboard everyone joining a Plague Tale universe. So even if you haven't played the first one, you can jump in. It will be good for you.
Absolutely. So I was actually wondering if you could talk a little bit about the sort of accessibility and the onboarding that you've done and what you had in mind during development. What are some of the key changes coming to Requiem, especially for those who loved the original as well?
So there's a lot of new things, of course. You've seen it in a trailer. In terms of gameplay, it's much more wider, bigger, much more open than the first one was.
Yeah, I picked up on that actually, yeah.
Yeah, it was quite narrow, the first one, so we were able to open it even further and offer new tools to Amicia, like the deadly crossbow she has now, or the knife she can use.
Quite the arsenal she's got with her now, yeah.
Yeah, and it's quite different for her because now she's using war weapon. It was not something she was doing in the first one. So she's ready to deal with death much more than...
Very ready. Deal with death and deal out death by the looks of the trailer. So you mentioned the word new a lot, and I think it's important to point out that this is a new console generation that we're working with at the moment. So what kind of shiny current gen features can we expect to see in Requiem?
So there's many things. Again, the first one that come into my mind is we have pushed the facial expression, the mocap even further. It was a brand new thing for us. We had no mocap on the first one, so we built up our studio. We've learned new ways to work, so we've improved this aspect of the game, and visually it's much more stunning than the first one was. We wanted a larger game, as I was saying, but we needed then more light, because light is a key element of our gameplay.
I love the way every new thing brings its own problems that you had to overcome,
So we had a much more wider area, so it means more light. Light is very expensive in terms of performances for the game, so it was a big challenge, but also, of course, wider space. We need
got to
more
fill it
rats.
with something.
Yeah. So we jump up from 5,000 to 300,000 rats on the screen.
That's a lot of rats to begin with. So sorry, say that one more time. That's 5,000 to 300,000 rats.
Yeah, that's it.
Are you lot okay? That's a lot of rats to put in the video game. Well, I was going to say, Well, thanks to all of those rats, it does mean that when we say that Amicia and Hugo have been through quite a lot, I think it's a little bit of an understatement, especially now. And at the end of the day, they're actually still children, if there are anyone out there who didn't know that much background from the story. So how do you go about showing their relationship in an authentic way after everything that they've been through together?
It's super hard to do that because they've been through a lot, they have experience. They were almost dead sometime, and a lot of people around them died, so they have to grow up, be much more mature than what they should be at their age. It's super hard to build up a story and convey a convincing dialogue for children. Yeah. Fortunately, the team is quite old now, and
age is but a number.
But and we a lot of us have children, so we can be inspired by them and try to feel the best way to convey children emotion to the players.
It must be a very difficult one to do, though. I mean, as a parent myself, I can only reasonably say that I hope I never see my children go through what happens in that game. So what's that sort of like to go, yeah, we're reflecting the childlike experience in the game, but also committing terrors to them?
Yeah, it's this is something we have no inspiration to take from, because again
you don't want to be inspired by that too.
No. Of course no.
Yeah, well, fair enough. We're going to focus a little bit now specifically on Amicia. As in Innocence, we saw her wielding a crossbow. She's way more prepared, she's way more confident, dangerous, and all round, I think you'll agree, a bigger all-round hero to Hugo. So how do her tactics change in Requiem, and what does that mean for the people playing as her?
So as prepared is the right word. She's ready. She don't want just only to survive or to escape. She's ready to fight if she needs to.
Absolutely.
But she's not forced to. So the player can choose the way he will approach things.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So he can go full stealth if you want. He can go full combat. Everything is still there from the first one. So, but right now you can choose to approach a situation the way you want. So it's not that only the space that is wider, but also the way you will approach things.
Yeah, and by full combat, you mean? I mean, we saw some stuff from the trailer, like all-out combat, right?
Yeah. You can burn people, you can use the crossbow to kill them instantaneously, or you can use the knife to silently kill them. It's all there.
It's absolutely all there, and I think that all comes together in making the experience so much more cinematic, which I want to talk about now, because the other thing that's so fantastic about the title is the voice acting, and I think that becomes essential when you want to convey emotion. So I'd love for you to share a little bit of insight about the development process, working with the voice actors, and getting to the voices and the emotion that we hear in that trailer.
So it's funny because it's something that people don't really know, but when we are working on the game for several years, we don't work with voice actor instantaneously. So for like 2 or 3 years, we work with a text-to-speech, so robot voices. And for an emotional game, it's a bit hard because...
And it takes you out a little bit.
Yeah, it's like when you use your smartphone, it's a flat voice with no emotion, no punctuation, nothing that makes really sense. So it's really hard to keep your focus on the story, on even sometimes to understand what is the purpose of sequence. It's, after 16 hours of playthrough, you're like, I think I don't get the story at all.
Sure. Interesting that it changes that much. I will say, first of all, I would love to see that version one day. It does sound wonderful. So do you want to... What was the process like working with the voice actors?
So when the voice actor arrived, it changed everything because we were able to work again with Charlotte McBurley and Logan Hannan, which were the actor for Amicia and Hugo from the first one. And we were so in love with their acting. It was a game changer for us to have them back in the game. When they arrived, their voices arrived in the game changed.
I was going to say, I imagine it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation with voice acting. Who informs the character? Is it you guys designing the character, or does the voice actor come in and actually completely change a scene?
Actually, it's both. We prepared everything, and they react to what we've wrote, and they say, no, I think Amicia should say it like that, or a bit more like that. So we change that on the fly with them, and adapt the game sometime to their feedback to make it even better and even more accurate. They are still children, and we are not anymore. So
I love that they have their own feedback as well. It's their character, right? It's their character that they're conveying. So big love for them to feed him back as well. Right, well, lastly, for anyone who is watching this segment out there who can't wait to play Requiem in October, which, by the way, is day one on Xbox Game Pass, and maybe you're not here in Gamescom as well, I'd love to know what you would like to tell the folks at home about Requiem.
So we're super glad to have it day one on Game Pass, because it means that a lot of players will be able to try the game and to give us feedback, because I really want to see their reaction. You know, I can't wait to see that. We've built up the games in several years, and we write up this big story, and I really want to see people's reaction to that.
And the community have been really close since the first title as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's thanks to them that we were able to do the sequel, so yeah, we're super excited.
It's a love letter to them.
Yes.
By the courier device of rats. 300,000 of them, to be precise.
300,000 rats of love.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm a massive fan of the series, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. But
Sieht
when it
gut
comes
aus,
to
aber nichts für
self-care,
mich.
you
Nee, für mich
can't
auch
be a
nicht.
rewatch of the Disney classics, right? I know I certainly can't. Yet in
Ich
recent
freue mich
years,
so, wenn
many
Minecraft
of us
Legends
have
dran
also
ist,
sought comfort
Felix.
in virtual
Ich freue mich
worlds.
so krass.
Millions of players have found solace in games that allow us to customize islands, build unique homes, and share virtual spaces with friends where we can't actually see them in person. Our next trailer builds on that idea and takes it to a whole new world, so to speak. Here's an all-new look at Disney Dreamlight Valley.
Oh Gott.
Hello, everyone. I went on a wonderful adventure today in
Da bin ich auch
Dreamlight
raus.
Valley, and I want to share it with you. It started with my favorite song on the radio. Don't you just love when that happens? It put me in the best mood ever. So, I picked out my look for the day. I was in the mood for something adventurous, and I had the perfect outfit. I was feeling a bit creative, so I added a little touch of magic to my look. And then, I was off. I made my way to Chez Remy for brunch. I love cooking with Remy. I was feeling some Mickey waffles with jam, but it turns out we were fresh out of fruit. Raspberry jam is my favorite, so I headed up to the Forest of Valor to pick some. And while I was there, I heard a sound from the Frosted Heights
Sims
bio.
Kappa. Sieht halt echt aus. Sims auf mich bestellt.
I just couldn't cross
Also
the
Sims
bridge.
einfach in besser,
I'll have to
so
adventure
gesehen.
back there to check it out. My stomach started to rumble, so I headed back over to the plaza. And we were ready to cook. I always learn something new with Remy. There are so many recipes to try to create the perfect Disney-themed meal.
Yo.
Here we go. I even whipped up an extra and shared it with Kristoff. After brunch, the weather was just so perfect that I couldn't resist going for a walk
Einfach
and some
goofy.
shopping. While looking in the windows of Scrooge McDuck's general store, I ran into Scrooge himself. He asked for my help spreading the word around town about his shop. Of course, I said yes. So, I headed over to my crafting table, whipped up a few signs, and placed them around town. I was exhausted after so much excitement, and I just felt like relaxing a bit. So, I decided to move my house
Ne, die ist
over
genauso
to the
groß wie
beach
die Tür.
to watch the sunset. When I set up my house,
Hä?
I noticed a strange pillar. Merlin had quite a story to tell about it. I put up the perfect hangout spot, and I invited Ariel to hang out because happy moments
Klar.
are always better when you share them with friends. It really was a perfect day in Dreamlight Valley. Pre-order Disney Dreamlight Valley now.
Nein. So, was kommt jetzt? Schön schminken, dies, das. Kenn's nicht. Wäre schön, wenn die mal wieder so zwischendurch mal das Programm irgendwie anzeigen würden. Aber was macht man da im Spiel eigentlich? Spielt man da einfach nur? Ja, keine Ahnung. Das ist auf jeden Fall so ein Spiel, was ich niemals im Leben spielen werde. Und weiter geht's.
Ahoy there! Welcome. My name's Adam Park, and I'm head of brand and licensing at Rare. And I am
Sea of
joined
Thieves.
today by 3 members of the Sea of 3 crew. Sea of 3 crew?
Sea of
that's quite,
Thieves, like, yeah.
it's kind of work. So, I'll go along the row. So we've got Joe Neats, executive producer on Sea of Thieves. We've got
Hello.
Mike Chapman, who's our creative director. And then we've got Joe, who is our senior community manager. So how is everyone?
Excited, tired, everything, all of the above. Like,
That wonderful mix you get at events.
yeah, yeah.
Feeling the buzz of the live show.
Yeah.
Chatting to fans, the energy.
So,
awesome.
I mean, it is our first official show since 2019.
Yeah.
So how is it actually being... I mean, I'm sure everyone's asking the same question. But how is it back at a show with people?
Right. Overwhelming, but in the best way, right?
Yeah.
Like, it really is. Like, it's just... The passion, the excitement, the buzz, I think that we all have coming to a show like this, right? And kind of meeting the fans, but then giving back to us from everybody that we see. It's just like, it's incredible. Like, we brought so many of the team here. We've got about 13, I think, with us. Like, and because it's just so valuable, bringing people to shows, getting that buzz, getting that energy that you just take back to the studio to kind of just pour into more Sea of Thieves, basically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like 2019, but it feels so much longer.
Yeah.
Like the first live show for us since 2019, so exactly what Joe said. Feeling the buzz from the fans, and we get to take that energy back to the studio to keep making this here.
And so, Joe, this is your first official Sea of Thieves event.
Yes, first official Sea of Thieves event and first Gamescom in general.
And?
It's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
obviously we had a little taste of this end of July with Sotfest.
Yep.
And that was wonderful to see the fans in person after so long, and for the first time for I think a lot of us. And now we've brought it to Gamescom, and some of them are here, and you're
Yeah.
seeing them again and recognising them, and you get that real sense of what it means to them to be a part of this community.
And we've got all sorts going on the stand. So go on, show off. So we've got tattoo
tattoos,
stands.
like,
Yeah.
We've got Gold
like,
Hunters
very
Live,
cool.
which people can tune into. You can come and win things, photo ops, meet the team. So it's great being back. But, so obviously it's been 3 years since we've done anything like this. What's gone on generally, Mike? I'm going to ask you to start with.
Sure.
Sea of Thieves, has anything happened in the last 3 years?
What haven't we done?
What
Honestly, I think like, our passion has always been to keep building out this pirate world. And over the last 3 years, you think back to the things that we've added the emissary system. The fact that players can go and role play as their trading companies for extra rewards. We've added
Dead
new
microphone.
quest types. We brought in our seasonal progression systems. We brought in our adventures. We brought in our mysteries. We brought in like all these new ways to play. And one of the key ones, of course, was our collaboration with Disney on A Pirate's Life. And since 2019. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Just keep going.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the big ones was what happened with The Pirate's Life. So working with Disney, we built all of that during the pandemic. Being at home, working with this team, we've worked together for so long. All of this incredible bonds and relationships that we built allowed us to get through what was a very hard time, but come through it stronger as a team, and we're more passionate than ever.
And obviously, Joe, you joined Sea of Thieves during the pandemic. How has it been, like that dynamic of actually coming into the studio?
It's the best thing. Like, you get a real sense since day one of how closely the team works together and how approachable everyone is. There's no one that you can't just drop a message to, but that translates over to the studio where we've got such a wonderful, creative, nurturing environment, but you can go and knock on the door of anyone or bump into them into the corridor and conversations spark from that. It's such a wonderful thing to now have that. Everyone's not just behind a screen anymore.
And how do you feel, Joe? I mean, again, it's been a long 3 years. We've achieved a lot in that time. How does it feel being back somewhere like this with what we've done?
Well, honestly, like, I think we were talking about this kind of earlier, right? Like like you were talking about, during the pandemic, the team's all separated, but being back in the studio, you just get that energy that you feed off each other, you feed off kind of the team and the people around you. And coming to a show like this, you kind of get that same thing. Like I said, it's just you feed off the energy. Like, and even though we're exhausted and we've all got sore throats and I've got a cough sweet in my mouth at all times, like water on hand, like, but it is water, I promise. It's just. It just gives you this energy and desire and passion to just like want to go back to the studio and just pour it into your work and pour it into the game. And you kind of want to take it and bottle it, right, and then take it back to the whole studio, like we always do when we go back. We take photos and videos and do a big presentation and really try and just get people to understand what it's like to meet the fans, right? And
you get the afterglow, and this is what we'll experience next week. We'll have this wonderful Gamescom afterglow as we get to take that back to the studio, like Joe said, and put it into all the ambitious things we've got planned for this year and beyond.
Well, before we get onto that, teases and the like, so you did, like you mentioned it, one of the things we introduced in the last few years was seasons. Yes. Season 7.
Yeah.
Just gone live a couple of weeks back.
Indeed.
And it's a biggie.
It is a biggie.
It's a biggie. So, like, what have you, and I'm going to start with you, Mike, but I will come to you, what have you kind of enjoyed seeing people do? And what has Season 7, like, introduced to Sea of Thieves?
Well, Season 7, you're right, is a big one. And the idea of being a pirate captain in our world, the idea that your ship becomes, it becomes an embodiment of who you are in this world and your pirate journey. Captaincy extends that pirate journey. It allows you to, as our community have often requested, to name your ship for the first time, to have this persistent identity for your ship. But beyond that, we're bringing in new progression elements. We're bringing in the captain's log, bringing ways that your session and the ship now feels like a home. So based on how you play, your ship represents who you uniquely are as a pirate and how you play in Sea of Thieves. So I think one of the most important things that has meant a lot to us seeing the reception is just seeing players go all in on that role play. You know, we're going all in the idea of this is who I am, and when you board someone's ship, that representing who they are in the Sea of Thieves world.
And why captaincy now? Like, what made sense to bring it in at this point?
Well, it's one of those features. I think we were always going to do it.
Yeah.
Why it made sense now was, and it kind of goes back to the question around what's happened in the last 3 years. You think about how much richer that Sea of Thieves experience has become. There's so many ways to play in Sea of Thieves now. There's so many ways to be who you uniquely are as a pirate, where the sandbox has got richer. There's new activities, there's new quests, there's new enemy threats. There's just new ways to play. So captaincy coming in now and rewarding you for all the unique things that's now in the sandbox, it kind of just puts this lovely new layer to that pirate journey. It just celebrates this rich game that Sea of Thieves has become.
And I suppose, Joe, from a community perspective, you must have seen this played out in real time. Like, how has the community taken to captaincy?
That's the thing. Like, from day one, they've been asking, when can we name our ships? When can we do this? And then we've not only delivered that, we've delivered so much more on top of it, that people now have this pirate identity that until now was just conversations or role plays. And we've got people that are going for all those fishing trinkets, or people like myself that it's all cannons fired and fought of the dams that you've completed. And you've got that real sense of identity now from our players, because they can represent themselves on their ship, and they're colour coordinating everything, and they're decorating, and they're playing how they've always played, but now they're rewarded for it with their own identity. And they absolutely adore it. It's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, a big part of that is beyond just the notion of being a pirate captain. We wanted the idea that pirate captains in a world like ours would become the VIPs. Yep. They become the rock stars of the world. So as part of captaincy, and that's a big update that we brought in, there's a set of perks and conveniences that captains now have. So when you own your first ship in the Sea of Thieves, there's a unique cash-in point just for you in the Sea of Thieves world to make offloading that treasure, you know, as part of going out there and having adventures, making that feel so much more efficient, using the harpoon to harpoon the treasure off the deck, cashing in that treasure really efficiently. But alongside that as well, you've got the new trinket system. So this new progression system that allows you to unlock these trophies that represent who you are. There's the captain's voyages, so you can select exactly what you want to do and store all of the voyages that you could do on this bookcase immersively in the captain's cabin. as part of that as well, you can go to the shipwright and you can purchase resources right there from the outpost and have them delivered to your barrels. So the idea that if you are a ship captain in the Sea of Thieves, you can get your ship ready quickly, you can pick the adventure you're going to go on, and you can just walk straight on that ship and have your adventures. And then that adventure be persistent. There's that sense of consequence for your actions. Your ship showing the battle scars of all your adventures. You choosing to, maybe you want to keep play with this kind of battle-scarred ship, or you can pay a small amount of gold to make the hull pristine again. So it really strengthens and really amplifies everything that's already unique about Sea of Thieves.
That second option is me. I have to pay to get it redone. I get in too many fights.
Yeah.
I love the way it just allows players to be more uniquely who they are.
Yeah.
And like being out on the waves and looking through the spyglass and seeing all these ship names and how players have chosen to represent themselves. I mean, that's the magic, and it's enriched the sandbox of Sea of Thieves, and that's what we always want to do.
So, I'm going to go now. So we mentioned ship names. It's a biggie, big part of captaincy. You don't have to tell me, but I'm going to ask a couple of you this. What did you name your ships? And I'm going to start with you, Joe.
So I named my sloop is Littlefoot.
Yeah.
My rare loadout brig is Get Red.
Nice.
And
nice.
my galleon, which is the one that we use the most. So if you see it on the seas, come and say hello. That's the purple loadout, and that is the Purple Rain with the quartermaster sails.
Very good.
Nice.
And what about you, Mike?
Great. So I've got a sloop and a brig. So for the sloop is called the Golden Blade.
Yep.
So fans of Sea of Thieves will know that the Silver Blade, the Burning Blade, it's a big part of their lore. So the Golden Blade's a little tease for our fans, maybe, someone that's really into the lore, but my sloop is called the Golden Blade, and my brig is called Inferno. And that is actually a reference to One-Eyed Willie's ship, Inferno, in the 80s classic, The Goonies.
And why, Mike, is the Goonies so unique? Because it's something that comes up, like, right back. And Joe?
It's because the 80s was the best decade. Like, beyond, like, that's just
Hands
like,
down,
not
no
even...
contest.
Broadcast over. Done.
Yeah.
No, but you took the whole team to see the Goonies during development.
We did. We hired a cinema out, didn't we? We hired the Electric Cinema out in Birmingham, very lovely independent cinema. But yeah, had some pirate-themed cocktails that they put on, and yeah, we took the whole team to see it because it was all about that camaraderie, that adventuring together, right?
Like, in all seriousness, like it's hard not to get emotional when Joe. Like, such an incredible memory of the development of Sea of Thieves, and in such a deep and meaningful way. When we went to watch the Goonies together, it felt like we, as a team, were about to embark on our own pirate adventure, like the characters in that movie. And we knew we wanted to create a game where the bonds between the crew felt like the bonds between the characters in the Goonies. They're on this pirate adventure, they don't know what's going to happen, they're going to be surprised by all the dangers and the perils that come their way. So the Goonies for us is just, it's a lovely memory, but it really feels in tune with the spirit of what Sea of Thieves has always been.
Yeah. So Joe, instead of asking you what your ship's called, no one's asked me.
No one's asked you.
Mine was Notorious BRG, which works verbally, doesn't work when written. Anyway, so what's some of the favourite ships you've seen, though?
So what I love about the ship naming throughout the community is obviously people trying to make humorous things, try and make stuff that it's going to get a reaction or get a chuckle from people when they look through the kind of spyglass and see it and stuff. So, like SOT, so SOT Final Boss, like that gave me a little chuckle, right? That did. Like, it's like you see that, it's like, yeah, I love that. People like role-playing as the fearsome kind of AI threat in the world. But I just love it. I love that. Anything that makes me chuckle is what gets me, right? There's so much of that. But that was one that stuck in my head that I think someone tweeted from God of Reddit or something. But yeah.
And what about you, Mike? Any favourites?
That is a great example. And obviously, how awesome players have got this new way to express their creativity in the Sea of Thieves world, and the fact that we can laugh about it together. But honestly, there's so many examples. But Usain Bolt, referencing Usain Bolt, the Olympic medalist, that made me chuckle.
I like the way that you felt like you had to explain that.
Well, I want to make sure. It's all right. The world-renowned, world-known Olympic medalist. But one that I just can't forget. It's a little bit dark, but she kept the house.
Beautiful.
That really made me chuckle.
That is good.
It's very clever.
It's
very clever.
And how about you, Joe?
Honestly, the really obvious ones are the ones that make me giggle. I ran across a galleon that was just, this boat is big.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, it is.
Little salute on your way.
Aye, it is.
Yeah.
And it's those ones that I like, but you see them, as you say, you've got the role-playing ones where they've gone for some variation on something we've got in game, or you've got just the funny puns that we've seen as well. And it's that creativity that you see, and you're like, you can almost judge what kind of pirate they are.
Yeah.
But not all the time, and I love that.
Yeah. No, you're right, actually, because if someone's got a humorous, like, this boat is big thing, you can imagine approaching them maybe and, like, having a laugh with them, right, and speak to them over, you know, using the speaker jumpy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, you're right, actually. It really adds a kind of different sort of feeling, doesn't it, to encountering other ships.
So I do actually have the top 10 boat names.
Oh, okay.
This is where we would have Top of the Pops music.
Okay.
For people of a certain vintage.
Cool.
Dun, 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 dun. Right.
Did you
Well,
prep them to, like...
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, does anyone want to guess? See if anyone can guess what number 1 is. I just flashed it at the camera. Like a Tory. Like a Tory.
That would happen.
We knew you'd do that.
I am a Conservative MP.
I would say knowing our fans, knowing our community and the role play of the world and generally how things go down, I would predict something like the Black Pearl.
And you would be quite right, Mike.
Yeah. And
collect your gift.
There's a lot of black pearls out there, and how awesome is that?
And that's that original creativity and humour that we love to see from our players. Yeah.
Come on, let people role play. Let people role play is what the game's all about.
And you go on, Joe.
If Black Pearl's in there, then
Yes.
there's got to be a Flying Dutchman.
You would be quite right.
Top 3?
No, actually, he's number 7.
Oh.
Joe?
Sorry? Usain Bolt.
Correct.
There you go, that's in there.
So others in the top 10. I'm not going to do an exhaustive list, but we have Sloop Dog.
Sloop Dog, nice.
Very good.
We have Y.
Why?
The letter Y.
I don't want an existential crisis while I'm sailing.
Why?
Why?
Why? Is this just like everybody's just like, why?
Don't come at me with those difficult
Don't
questions.
get, look at
on the
that.
way.
You looked really troubled by that, Mike.
I am troubled. I don't understand that one.
No.
And then, so,
If your ship's named Y, get in touch.
Yeah.
actually, yes, let us know why.
Please. And we hope it's not rude.
Yeah. So we've also got Unsinkable 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I
Titanic
thought there'd be
reference.
Titanic in there.
Okay. Yeah.
Jackdaw.
Jackdaw?
Yes. Real
Thousand Sunny.
Oh, yeah,
Right, okay, yeah.
Going Merry and Queen Anne's Revenge are all in there
course.
as well.
One
Right.
and only.
So
Very
there we
good.
go. Right, so moving on then.
Were any of those Sea of Teasers? No.
We're just getting to that section now.
Yeah.
Everyone just like, "Ugh." So,
No.
Adventure 6 then.
Adventure 6.
So it's live right now. People are playing it as we speak. So can you, Mike, probably best, give us an overview of where this fits within the lore and the story? Where are we?
Yeah, so we're in a really interesting time in the Sea of Thieves now in our storytelling where it's set against the backdrop of these emerging factions in the Sea of Thieves. And our players will know that last year, as part of the Pirates' life, the Dark Brethren emerged, working with Davy Jones. And of course, Davy Jones got defeated because of the valiant efforts of our players. But the Dark Brethren are still around, with Amaranta, their new member, who's an ex-Sea Dog. And we've got everybody's favourite, Duke. So there's the Dark Brethren. There's, of course, the one and only Pirate Lord and his pirate legends. Players are often part of that. And we've got the third area of that, the third faction, which is, of course, Captain Flameheart. So Captain Flameheart and the Reaper's Bones and the Servant of the Flame. So what you're seeing now at this point in Sea of Thieves history is this factional war between these pirate groups that have all got their own vision for the pirate's life and the way they want the pirate's life to be in the Sea of Thieves. And unfortunately, poor Merrick has got himself ensnared in the middle of that. And in Adventure 6, players are recruited by the Pirate Lord to go on this daring rescue mission into the Sea of the Damned, to the new hideout of the Dark Brethren, which is the Twisted Sea Dog Tavern, a memory of that iconic Sea Dogs Tavern from the main world. And you work together with crews to save Merrick. But one of the big things that players who played it will always already realise is this actually brings a chapter of Merrick's story that began with the Hungering Deep, continued with the Shrouded Deep, to the Forsaken Hunter, where Merrick was unfortunately killed and went to the Sea of the Damned, to now in Hunter's Cry. It brings this chapter of Merrick's story to a touching conclusion. The story's not over, but it brings this part of the story to a conclusion. So definitely worth experiencing that story because it's going to have important ramifications for the rest of the world.
So I met someone yesterday, and they were a massive fan of Merrick, and they wanted to talk to you about that. They came to the stand, they're down there, like with a cutlass. But like, no, they were like, they wanted to. They had some questions. They had some questions.
Deals can always be struck,
and
I'm open to ideas, but it's Merrick or Shelley. Shelley the crab. That's what it's going to come down to.
Is
this a decision point?
That's next decision point.
It's the new Daddy or Chips, isn't it?
You can't do that.
Daddy or Chips. That's a deep cut. That is.
Place your bets.
Place your bets. So. You're still chuckling at your own jokes, Joe?
That's what I do. That's what
I see. So how far are the adventures planned? And and without teasing anything or giving anything away, like how far out are we looking? In terms of where do you know the story is, how far out?
Really far. So I think
what's really?
Really far.
Well, I'd say thematically, where we want to go and the direction we're heading into and how we want to represent the pirate's life in all these different ways in the Sea of Thieves. That is planned out a multiple years worth at a high level. In terms of absolute specifics of what the story beats are and exactly which characters are involved and in what way, that's planned out. I mean, it's probably a year and a half's worth of storytelling and adventures that we've got planned out. And we need to do that because that's the way that you make things meaningful and make it feel authentic to the Sea of Thieves. When we know what's going to happen to a character in a year and a half's time, we can start seeding things early, start bringing players organically into that storytelling. And we love to do that because it makes everything feel more meaningful.
And how do you think the community engage with the lore? Is it, because obviously it's not a prerequisite to playing the game, but those who love lore.
Oh, yes, they do. I was going to say you have to get those specifics right, because if one thread is out of place, if one character isn't in the right look, they're going to notice, and they're going to tag Mike on Twitter until he answers for his lore crimes. they know their stuff, that's the thing, because they've been so invested since day one, and we've now stepped it up with the amount of lore we're delivering. And I know across our social channels and on Discord, we've got separate channels, and we had to separate out the lore section, because we've got mysteries and adventures and then general lore, and they're all over it, and they're sharing theories and they're swapping stories, and they thoroughly embrace that side of the storytelling that we've got now.
And I love that. I love that. I mean, that to me shows that a lot of our community are invested in the world and they care about our world. And you're right. Of course it's not a prerequisite to play Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is this wonderful sandbox adventure game where you get to choose your own adventures. But we've always believed that the more meaning and purpose we can put into the world, the deeper we can make that world feel. The easier it is to immerse yourself in those adventures and that role play. So it's there, waiting, full of surprises for players that want it, but it's not a prerequisite for Sea of Thieves.
And how do we bring in expanded universe into this? Again, with the planning, we need to know what's coming, but say the most recent novel. We planned that, was it 2 years ago? We had the first Tracy.
Quite a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, so how do you kind of keep all of this? Is there a big board with lots of...
We do have a lore Bible, which is quite high level. If it was too detailed, it would get hundreds and hundreds, thousands of pages probably. But it's a lot of meetings, it's a lot of discussion, it's a lot of building up that knowledge together as a team. I mean, you're right, everything in the EU is canon to our story. So what players have seen before with the Tales of the Sea of Thieves lore book, the 2 novels that we've now got out, the RPGs and the expansion, all of those stories are canon to our world. And there's a huge responsibility that comes with that. Experiencing any of those materials should be just another window into the Sea of Thieves world, and when you play the game, it should strengthen and vice versa, both of those elements. So we have to get it right.
Every time. That's the pressure.
That's the pressure.
Yeah, that's the pressure.
So we had our first decision point adventure, where the community effectively decided...
Wrongly.
Calm down.
Can we edit this out?
Calm down.
It's Saturday today.
So the community were able to decide the fate of the world. So we're going to start by asking, what side were you all on? So
I was Ruin Golden Sands.
Golden Sands.
And you even have that. How about yourself?
Don't remind me, Joe. I'd actually forgotten that you were on that side.
No.
Save Golden Sands.
You're surrounded.
All the way. I am. I'm ensnared in the
really
sandwich
of
the Reapers.
Okay.
Reaper sandwich.
No, I think... As we've seen today, interacting with people here at Gamescom, Merrick is such a beloved character, and what Merrick stands for, and he's a salty pirate that's lived his life in the Sea of Thieves, and people love that character. And I think for me, it's a more interesting story, and it's unbelievable that the community chose to go that way. The fact that they bonded together to take this positive action to defend Golden Sands.
So which side were you, Joe? I think we can guess.
Ruin Golden Sands, like, absolutely. And
well, obviously all on the side of Sea of Thieves.
Sorry?
I was going to make I'm not going to move away from that. I was going to make a Sunak trust.
No, let's not do that.
But we won't do that.
Because that would be the most offensive thing you could ever do. To be...
But, all right, moving on quickly, did we have the result you expected? Like, genuinely?
No.
It was, well, I couldn't predict. Like,
I kept watching the conversations happening, and we'd made all these fun things across our Discord servers so that people showed their allegiance rather than anything else. And the Reaper's hideout was just burning stuff. Yeah. Merrick's was coordinating loot, and I had no way of knowing which way it was going to go. And as much as I wanted to ruin it, I'm not going to lie, I spawned in my first play session afterwards on Golden Sands and was really happy. I was like, look at it.
I think as a designer, you think so much about the psychology of players and how they'll react to certain things. And I genuinely believe personally that it would go the way, it would go to that negative choice, it would go to the Reapers.
They choose chaos.
Who wouldn't want to see what happened if the Reapers won? Because Golden Sands, it's about taking it back to that neutral state, which it will evolve now because the choice has been made. But I always thought people would side with the Reapers, so just blown away by the fact that didn't happen. I thought that was a lovely surprise, and it's going to be really interesting as players see throughout this year what's going to happen to Golden Sands now and how that's going to play out.
Yeah. And honestly, and I love knowing kind of what the next decision point is and where we're leading to. Yeah. Like, that is going to be another huge moment for our community to have to again make a choice, right? And the impact that's coming with that, like, without teasing too much. But it's like, you know, later this year there's going to be another big one. Like, I think bigger in terms of kind of emotional impact.
The emotional investment in the next one I think will be bigger.
Well, so I'm going to ask again. You've kind of preempted the question, but. So we're having another decision point. That's happening.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah,
but,
ready on the screen, that's
and it's a big one.
But so I was going to question, like, if we were to like scale it based on the last one, is this bigger, similar? What can people expect?
Bigger. It's absolutely bigger. It cuts right to the core of some of the key characters in the Sea of Thieves. And we wanted to do that. We wanted to drive a big world change with Golden Sands. Obviously, we set that up with the first adventure, Shrouded Island. And picking Golden Sands because it was a beloved outpost, beautiful palm trees, it's paradise. We knew that would trigger an emotional response for our players, but we've done that now. We've seen how players interact with it. We've learned some lessons about how to set up these type of live storytelling events, and now we're going to go even further. We're going to be even more ambitious with this second choice this year, so look out for that.
And also mechanically, again, without spoiling it, but you've learned a lot from how we designed the first one and the activities people were doing and how we're going to be kind of, like, I love what we've got planned there in terms of, like, the activities people are going to be doing and how that's going to play out and how it's just, I think, going to make the whole Sea of Thieves feel so different during that time period.
Yes. It'll be a real moment in time, and Joe's right, we've deliberately in Adventures so far done very different things. One's more focused on the pure gameplay, one's more focused on the storytelling, all these different set pieces, because we're learning, and we're going to take those learnings into the future adventures that we've planned out. We're already doing that.
And you've touched on it slightly there, but how is it planned, like, in terms of production, as executive producer? In terms of production, as design director, like, how do you kind of prepare for that decision point, though? Like, you know, do we have both tracks ready to go, or is it more a case of, well, we assume this will happen, or we have a more neutral state?
That genuinely is probably one of the most complex things we've ever done.
Well, you've got like 2 minutes.
I'll keep it brief. But you've got to plan for both outcomes. We deliberately don't start building the bigger things because that would be an incredible waste of the team's time. That we could put to more valuable things. But we have to plan out a junction point. So earlier on, when I was talking about the fact that we've got adventures planned out for the next year and a half, there's almost a fork in the roads there, where there's almost option A and there's option B, based on some of these community choices that we're planning. So it makes a complex job even more complex, but, like, so worthwhile. So worthwhile to see that play out with the community.
And Joe, just kind of, we're going to wrap up in a moment, but, like, from what you know of the next decision point, like, do you think we're going to see that kind of groundswell from the community again?
I think they're gonna go wild for the next one. I think it's really exciting, and with that other decision point, they've seen how they can alter the world that they're playing in, and that most of them spend a lot of their time in. And I think this next one really is going to step it up, and I think we will see that resurgence of the passion that we saw in the last decision point, and then some.
So to wrap up then, we're here for a couple more days. What can people expect, like, from us at Gamescom?
Just come to the stand, basically. Like, there's always going to be Sea of Thieves crew at the stand, right?
Yeah.
And each day we have, like, there's a meet and greet slot that we've tweeted out. I don't know when, but it is 5 o'clock today, 5 p.m. today?
5 o'clock today, yeah.
And then 1 o'clock, I think, every other day, I think. But, and then, yeah, you can come play, you can win the medallions, like, you can watch the stream, but the whole point we're here is just to chat and meet with fans, right? That's why we brought so many people here. That's the energy we want. Come and give Mike feedback and questions about
specifically
everything.
on Merrick.
Yeah, specifically on Merrick.
I love it. Honestly, that is the privilege of being at a live show like this. Nothing energizes you more than talking to fans, feeling their passion, hearing their questions and their feedback. We don't just want to hear the good stuff. We want to hear the bad stuff. We want to learn. We want to make this service of Sea of Thieves and this pirate world the best it can possibly be. If you love pirates, Sea of Thieves should be the game for you. So we love nothing more than talking to our fans. We love the game as much as our fans do.
What a wonderful place to leave it.
Yeah, isn't that lovely?
You didn't even ask any questions about Skull and Bones. What's that then?
What about, tell me about Skull and Bones show.
Oh, we're out of time.
But no, so thank you. But this has been great. So thank you ever so much. And as Joe says, if you are here, do come down and see us.
Please do, honestly.
But if not, we'll see you on the seas.
Indeed, yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Has fallen. Humanity is hanging on by a thread. But you know what? It's not all bad news, because our planet is full of badass dinosaurs. And seriously, who doesn't love a dinosaur? Seriously. In this exciting new glimpse at Second Extinction's full release, players get to explore more of Earth than ever before. The full launch adds a new vast open map for players to roam, more dinosaurs to fight, a revamped progression system, and tons of exciting new features. I mean, I'm talking about co-op, first-person shooter, and mutated dinosaurs. I am so in. Here's a brand new trailer for Second Extinction.
Sure. Wow.
Can you hear me? I hope this reaches you. This city is falling apart. Chaos, madness, death. And there might be no going back. But you can change that. It depends on the choice you make. Truth or lie.
Dieses Game. Das hat mich überhaupt nicht angesprochen.
I might be asking too much of you. But I don't have a choice. Only you can do this. Please, help me. Finally, we meet, son. The stage is set.
The light shines brightest in the darkest of times.
All right, buddy, I'm here for you. Don't worry.
Don't give up.
Keep
You can lean on me if you want.
protect.
Fulfill. Your destiny.
Hello, Charlie here with two of the brilliant and twisted minds from NeoWiz, who created a game that's reimagined Pinocchio as a ruthless killing machine to cleanse a plague-infested world. Made by the studio behind beloved fantasy MMO Blessed Unleashed, and coming from a team of developers who worked on the absolutely awesome Monster Hunter world, I am super excited about this one. Please welcome Ji-won Choi and Jason Park.
Hello.
I
Nice to meet
told you they were twisted. It's lovely to meet you, whoever's underneath there. This is haunting. Truly haunting. Should we have a look and see if we can find the humans underneath? Yeah? Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the slow reveal. Here they are. Jason and Ji-won. We have a Joker.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
There they are. Amazing. They've joined us. Welcome. Now, when I think of Pinocchio, it doesn't quite look up to the trailer that we saw just now. So could you let us know where the idea of Pinocchio as a killing machine actually came from?
Our team is called Off, and this is the first time we've developed a single-player console game. So we needed a way to get our name out there. In order to stick in the minds of the people, our strategy was to choose a subject that was very well known, but transform it into something completely original. We eventually chose the adventures of the Pinocchio, but that wasn't a quick decision. We first thought about what features we wanted our Souls-like game to have. The first, don't ever reference dark fantasy or medieval themes. The second, the story shouldn't be childish, and we should be able to enjoy it as adults. And last, The game should be full of adventures and unforgettable characters. Yeah. This is naturally led us to Pinocchio because it matched the conditions we set. Yeah. I had read Pinocchio when I was a child, but I was shocked when I read it again more carefully recently. The adventures of the Pinocchio is definitely not a story for children, but rather like an R-rated movie for adults. It was a real pleasure to take the fantastic source material and create our own original story. Totally free.
I bet it is, and now we're at Gamescom showing it off to the world.
Yeah. So when you brought up the initial idea of making a game based on the story of Pinocchio, honestly, I was not convinced at all. I was thinking that Pinocchio is a story for just for kids, not sure for online soul-like games. However, even though I read Pinocchio's story a long time ago, I remember it vaguely, so I went to the bookstore, bought the book, and read it again. And what I've learned is that Pinocchio is not just a fairy tale. It's more like a reflection of human nature and filled with a lot of unique and attractive characters. That's when I realized this is something we have to do, revitalizing this amazing story as a game.
I think it sounds like I might need a reread of Pinocchio then. But until then, do you want to give us a bit of a deep dive of the story and the world that your Pinocchio inhabits?
As you already know, Lies of P is based on the original story of Pinocchio, which is actually quite brutal. And while the main characters in Lies of P are from the Pinocchio, our game's story is completely different and filled with new events. For example, Lies of P takes place in the imaginary city of Koch, where petrification disease is spreading and causing a lot of conflict. And while you meet a lot of familiar characters from the Pinocchio, they want to be anything like you remember. We introduced the Black Rabbit Brotherhood before, but I'd also like to tell you about Antonia, who appears at the beginning of the trailer. In the original story, Antonia is actually Antonio, Geppetto's friend. That is all I can leave it today, though. I will save the rest for the future.
I was going to say, I definitely don't remember these masks from my childhood. It's got to be said.
Yeah, so me too. My favorite is Black Rabbit Brotherhood. They're also in the original story. Poor Black Rabbit holding a coffin on their shoulders. They're in Lies of P. They are not just rabbit. They are brutal warriors. They are still carrying a coffin and always trying to squeeze you into it. I really want to see how you guys survive when they're hunting you.
So, in order to go up against them, I have seen from the trailer so far that there are some ridiculous weapons, and you can even take some enemies to the wood shop with them, if I saw that correctly. So talk us through the combat we can expect from Lies of P, and how similar is it to the Souls-like games we've been seeing recently?
I can confidently say that Lies of P is full of a unique and one-of-a-kind battle system. And the first system I'd like to talk about is the weapon combination system. Weapons are divided into two parts, the blade and the handle, and can be combined in countless ways. Each blade and the handle have their own weight, motions, features, and special skills called flavor art.
Oh, okay.
So players are free to mix and match and create the perfect weapon for them. It should be fun to try out more than 100 of possible combinations.
Wow.
And another unique system in Lies of P is the Legion system, which you probably already saw on the main